Uh-oh, it's that time of the year. The proverbial clock is about to strike midnight on gaming, boys and ghouls, everyone watching. It's the end of the year, and I feel like talking about some games I have played and also the many, many games I have not played. I'm procrastinating right now, and I'm very cozy in my seat. Also, I want to have a record of me guessing the Game Award results. See if I get it. Prove how huge my brain is. Plus, I want to mention some things that I'm doing with the channel soon. My plans for the future and my games and all the other dumb shit that I work on. But first, the games I've played this year. I actually only want to talk about this because I haven't gotten to play nearly as many games as I wanted to play this year because I've been a bit busy, but also that means I haven't really been paying attention to a lot of especially like indie games that have been coming out and like smaller releases and stuff like that. So if anyone watches this, I want some game recommendations so I can catch up on stuff. Tell me about good things that I don't know about. But anyways, the stuff I did play. Oh, and I won't talk about spoilers for anything, of course. That would be stupid. But yeah, so Zelda, that was the big one for me. Love Zelda games. I had a pretty amazing time playing Zelda. I definitely, at times, I would probably say it's one of the best experiences I've had with a video game. No joke. And that's just like purely from like a mechanical standpoint. What they were able to achieve with that game, like tech-wise, is so impressive. It was so impressive in Breath of the Wild, what they did with a console like the Switch. Switch was already really underpowered whenever it came out, and in with a game released in 2023, the fact that they pushed it so far and to do so much more than Breath of the Wild too, it's such an insane game. I kind of have so much trouble wrapping my mind around it. You know, every now and then you'll hear about I think this happened a long time ago. I don't know if this was recent. Maybe it happened recently again too. I don't remember, but it was like Microsoft or something. I think it was like Microsoft wanted to try and buy Nintendo to make them a first-party developer for them or something like that, which obviously would never actually happen. But it does make you wonder if Nintendo did just work on like software with a console with like the power of the Xbox. Like, that's crazy to think about, considering like, yeah, I don't know. If you've played Tears of the Kingdom, you probably know what I mean. It's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers what you can do in that game, and the way the game like works. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, super impressive. I have a feeling they juiced out everything they could out of that engine. I don't know if they could add that much more to it in terms of just like making it more impressive. They could obviously add anything they wanted to it, but yeah, crazy stuff. Super cool. Really, really fun abilities and things like that. Breath of the Wild was a pretty big deal for open world games, just because a big thing it kind of focused on was just getting from place to place enjoyable and having plenty of things to do on the way. But I definitely, even when that game came out, I loved it, and I was a huge Zelda fan at the time. I still am now, but I was like, that was the most anticipated game I'd ever had in my whole life. And even when that came out, I had a lot of feelings about it in terms of like, this is really good, and not a lot of open world games are as fun to play moment to moment, as in like there's not a lot of downtime of just getting from place to place. Like, getting from place to place is fun in Breath of the Wild, but I feel like they kind of just absolutely blew it out of the water in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, so many times in Tears of the Kingdom, I could have either fast traveled somewhere, or if it was somewhere I hadn't been yet and I just wanted to get over there, it probably would have taken me like 2 minutes of running to get somewhere, or like 1 minute on a horse. But I would just sit there and choose to build some contraption for like 15 minutes just to get me that like 100 yards or something stupid like that. And I feel like that's just a huge testament to how much they just focused on just the game being fun by itself. It felt a lot like Mario 64 to me in that way, where it really didn't matter what was going on around me. I could always make my own fun. Like, there were plenty of times I would just sit in a Hyrule Field and just make stuff, and for it to do absolutely nothing. And I'm sure everyone who's played the game pretty much has had that experience too. So that's really cool. It's really cool to have that in a single player game that's, like, it's not like Minecraft or something where that is the full intent. Like, there is a full story, there are bosses, there's combat, things like that. So really interesting, really cool. There's definitely things that I think could be better in Zelda. That's kind of just Zelda in general, not Tears of the Kingdom specifically, but I could talk for a while about the things that I don't really like about the game that much, but the things that I love about the game just so outweigh that for me. But yeah, my favorite game of the year, absolutely. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of things about it where I'm like, there's a lot that like I was underwhelmed with or anything like that. But I won't get too deep into it. But yeah, love it. Love that game. I basically did one big playthrough like you do with a kind of open world game. I don't know. I put a lot of time into it over the last year, but I haven't played it in a good 5 months probably. I played a little bit the past week, maybe like collectively like an hour or two. But yeah, pretty cool. I played Resident Evil 4. Really good game. The original Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. Absolutely. I think it's one of the best games ever made. And that's given the context of what it was when it came out, and that's also just given the context of every game that exists right now. I genuinely think Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games ever made. Love it. And so I don't really like remakes in general. I don't think it's a very hot take to have. I would always prefer a new thing to be made instead of another game to be remade, because if it's a game I love, I don't really want someone else to remake it. And if it's a game I don't love and I think could be improved a lot, I don't really want someone to remake it to try and improve it. I would just rather someone make a game inspired by that game and just do a better job, or something like that. But that's not to say that there aren't like remakes I like. I love the Resident Evil 1 remake, which I still haven't played the original Resident Evil 1, so I don't know exactly how I feel about it when they're compared head to head, but I really do have a tough time imagining how I can just like definitively say I think the remake of Resident Evil 1 is worse than the original Resident Evil 1. So love that game. I love the remake of Resident Evil 2, and I also love the original Resident Evil 2. It's nice that they're so different from each other that it feels like a new game anyways. But when it came to Resident Evil 4, I was like, I don't know if I'll really like that. But I think pretty much they went in the right direction as far as making a lot of the game different. Kind of it's a very interesting remake to play if you're very familiar with the original. In fact, I think they intended that to be the case, where if you play this remake, you'd played the original. Because it's like fun to see how they sort of like reinterpreted certain moments in certain areas. A lot of the game is changed in some way or another. I think there's maybe like 2 or 3 encounters, 2 or 3 rooms in the whole game that are like basically the same as the original, but other than that, everything has been altered in some way. So it's cool. Ultimately, it ended up being a situation where I liked the way they did it, and I like both games independently of one another. I think there's a whole lot that the original game does better than the remake, and I think that there's a whole lot of really good stuff in the remake too. I played through it twice, I think, and it's been a minute since I played through it again, so that's about as far as my thoughts are going to go on that. But yeah, good game. And that's another thing about like not having time, especially in the past couple months. Like I got the DLC for that game and I have not even touched it. Like I haven't even opened it at all. So that was dumb of me to get it, but oh well. Ooh, played Lies of P. That was a more recent one. That's the last game that I've actually like had time to play, but I did finish it. Souls-like, From Software inspired game, Bloodborne inspired game specifically, very, very inspired by Bloodborne, perhaps too much as far as, getting points for originality goes, but very good. And I'll say very good, especially for a non-From Software made Souls-style game. It seems developers have absolutely no idea how to make a Souls-like game, and I mean that like on a really basic level. Like, most Souls-like games feel like garbage to play. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, they feel and look janky a lot of times. I don't understand why studios who presumably, if they were to make any other kind of game, it would just feel like a normal video game. When they make a Souls-like, it feels like those YouTube videos of a personal project that someone's doing in Unreal Engine 4 to make a Souls-like game, and it's clearly only like 3 months of progress or something like that, right? Like, I know that's very uncharitable and that's very mean to say about a lot of these games, and I haven't played every Souls-like ever, partially because in my experience a lot of times they just are not fun to press buttons in. But I'm only mean because if you're gonna be emulating another title so closely, if your game is clearly based on it's not just an action RPG, but it's specifically like a Souls style one, you're specifically emulating From Software in some way. It's like you don't get a pass if you mess up something basic, like just making sure the animations don't feel like limp, floppy, weird trash. I don't know. I'm going to be mean. So my point is about all that is Lies of P is good. The animations are good. It feels good. It feels pretty close to a From Software game. It's got a couple things that are weird in it. I think this is a very common complaint about the game, but the parry window is very, very tight in the game. I definitely believe it's too tight. And combine that with the fact that the enemy animations in the game aren't very good in terms of readability, then it is an issue with the game, I think, personally. I think a lot of people do. When it comes to these like From Software style games, you get a lot of get good guys screaming your ear off about how you're just bad at the game and you're just supposed to learn every single frame of every single animation of every single enemy, and that's that's fun, and that's good game design. But I mean, you know, despite me saying that, I think it's a good game. I enjoy it, and I'm definitely going to play it again. In fact, I think they updated it recently, and I haven't played the game yet, but it seems like they actually apparently improved the enemy animations. And what I meant earlier about like them being bad for readability is most of the animations in the game would have very, very long windups and like instantaneous releases, which means you can't intuitively dodge or parry those attacks, especially parrying, which the game wants you to do, because the parrying window I think is only like 7 frames or something like that. I don't know. I could, maybe it's more, but I think it's really tight or something like that. But yeah, but anyways, apparently they've improved some of the animations and stuff like that, and probably literally just by like, you know, tweaking the speed at which they play, or I don't know. I don't know how you would do that so fast after a game comes out, but I don't do 3D game development, so I don't know. I mean, I do a little bit of 3D animation, but you know, so maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, the fact is, it's really respectable that they did that, considering there were a lot of people who, anytime someone would be like, hey, I think the parry window's too tight, or like, you know, enemy animations are really hard to read intuitively, so it means the game has a lot of trial and error, and then you get a lot of guys being like, no, you're actually just bad and you suck and you're stupid. It's very respectable that regardless of how loud those people can be, the developers, listen to the feedback, and then they ultimately decided that they agreed with it enough to change it. So that's really cool. But yeah, regardless, good game. Like it a lot. Had a really good time playing it. And yeah. I have Mario Wonder and I have Sonic Superstars. I haven't had time to basically play either of them at all. I'm on like the second world in Mario, and I think I'm maybe like a quarter of the way through Sonic. Don't know. I like them both. So far. Mario is a Mario game, so chances are it's going to be pretty great, and it has been so far. I can't wait to get towards like the end of the game and like the secret worlds and stuff and get the really hard levels. But yeah, I love the new layer of like polish, especially in terms of like animations and expressiveness that they added to Mario. Very cool. It's funny, it's actually a very Sonic thing. It makes me think of like the original Sonic games where he was just given so much more personality than a lot of other platformer mascots at the time. So yeah, that's cool. But I won't say much more about it. Like I said, I haven't played much. Same as Sonic. It's good. I like it. The one thing about Sonic that I've noticed that I can, definitively be like, wow, I don't like this, is clearly half the music was done by T. Lopes, the composer for Sonic Mania, and I believe also Sonic Mania Adventures. Pretty positive. And he's great, like really good. And he only did like half the music, and the other half was, I don't know who did it. I haven't looked it up, but it's not matching the quality of the other half of the soundtrack. So that's a shame. But otherwise, I'm having fun with it. I'll finish both of those games at some point eventually. Hi-Fi Rush. This game is awesome. It's a really cool move. It was like a shadow drop for Game Pass or something like that. Like the game just came out and no one knew about it before. And yeah, it's great. Director of Evil Within 2, possibly something else. I know the director did some of the DLC for the Evil Within 1, company being Tango Gameworks. And gameplay-wise, I thought the Evil Within 2 was pretty awesome. I thought it was a pretty big improvement over the first Evil Within, which I say improvement. They're very different games. In fact, the Evil Within 2 almost feels like it took a lot from The Last of Us or something like that. But it's really good. I really enjoy it a lot. It's been a while since I played the Evil Within 2, but when I heard about Hi-Fi Rush, I was like, that sounds really cool. And then whenever I heard it was the same director as the Evil Within 2 guy, I like immediately had to play it. And yep, love it. It's great. Aside from Zelda, absolutely my favorite game of the year. The soundtrack choices were fantastic. The original music in the game is fantastic. The art style is great. Voice acting's really good. The story's very fun. The game is very fun. Kind of feeling as far as like the character action games, whatever you want to call it, goes, pretty close to Bayonetta, but just with the rhythm aspect to it. I do want to talk about one issue I have with the game, which is, I think it's kind of a big issue, but it's a small detail. And if this small detail was implemented, it probably would be my favorite game of the year, just because of the added, originality it would have over, especially Tears of the Kingdom. But Hi-Fi Rush is missing an equivalent to the mechanic in Bayonetta called dodge offset, which in Bayonetta, dodge offset means if you're doing a combo, so like you're doing a punch, kick, punch combo. Well, first, let me say, in Bayonetta, there's a mechanic called Wicked Weaves, which literally just means the final hit in a combo is way stronger than the other attacks in the combo. So there's like a million combos in Bayonetta, and if you do one of the preset ones, you get a big hit at the end, basically. So, for example, like a punch, kick, punch would rack up a little bit damage for the first 3 hits, and then big damage for the end. And Hi-Fi Rush works that way as well, where the combo finisher is going to give you is what you're going for. A lot of the benefits in the combat come from the combo finishers. And similar to Bayonetta, the dodge is very, very powerful in both games. It's just straight up iframes, and that's pretty much it. And in Bayonetta is very mobile. She can dodge. It's very easy to dodge in that game, but enemies are hyper aggressive, especially on higher difficulty modes. And so, for example, you have the big mechanic in Bayonetta called Witch Time, which is if you dodge and enemies hit at the last second, all the enemies stop in time for a few seconds. And when you're not very good at the game, the idea is enemies are too aggressive to get off your full combos and do a bunch of damage. But what you do is you dodge at the last second, freeze the enemies for a few seconds with Witch Time, so then you have the time to do a full combo. But on the highest difficulty of Bayonetta, they actually remove the Witch Time mechanic completely, and enemies are way more aggressive and way faster, and there's way more of them. So how do you get off combos whenever all that is coming at you, right? Like, how do you get off combos whenever it's literally impossible to have enough time, and you're having to dodge an enemy's attack every maybe 3 times in a second sometimes? Well, there's a mechanic called dodge offset, which is genius. It's a genius, amazing mechanic, and it's very simple. If I'm doing that punch, kick, punch combo, and there's 5 dudes trying to kill me, if you do a punch, but you hold the punch button while you dodge out of the way of another attack, or while you just press dodge in general, then the original punch command doesn't get dropped. So if you punch and hold the button, then dodge, punch, hold the button, then dodge, kick, hold the button, then dodge, and punch, it will count as finishing a full combo. So that's dodge offset, meaning you can react to enemies in mid-combo without dropping the combo, as long as you're doing something like holding the button. And I don't know if they've changed the game since, but I know when I played it, when it first launched, there's nothing like that in Hi-Fi Rush. And the game is really similar to Bayonetta. So my first playthrough, I just went straight to hard mode, just because I play games like this and I like games being a little bit tougher. So towards the second half of the game, there's a lot of enemies, and it's pretty tough. It's manageable, but the game gets pretty hard. But like Bayonetta, there can be a situation where you have a lot of enemies out there that are attacking you all at once. But the problem is there's no form of dodge offset. If you have to dodge something, you will drop a combo. And that's kind of a big deal. And if your only goal is to just play the game and get the best rankings, that's kind of reflected in the rankings, where it's actually really, really easy to get S ranks in Hi-Fi Rush, like to get the best rank. I think S is the highest rank, or whatever it's called. It's very, very easy to ace the ranking, which is kind of another problem with it, but I think that also stems from the fact that you don't have something like dodge offset. So the game has to kind of assume that you're just not going to be getting off combos and a lot of extra points. And there's also like another issue where I think spamming your team attack abilities gets you like a really disproportionately high amount of points, and there's not really reason not to spam them. I'm not sure if the reasoning for that was just so you use them more, so you feel like you're working with your team more. I don't know. But yeah, so I would say it needs the dodge offset mechanic, which I feel like could slot in really well, because everything in the game is timed to a beat. So you could even make dodge offset harder. It could be, okay, you have to still be holding the button, but you also whenever you do the dodge, it has to be on the beat. It has to be a well-timed, perfect dodge. So it could be even harder, but it would still be totally fair, and it would still totally fit in with like the core appeal and mechanics of the game, where it's, a Bayonetta style game or whatever, where everything is synced to the beat. So yeah, that's my one thing about it. And it is kind of a big thing for me. I feel like that is, a game can be really, really good, and you can just be in that sort of echelon of being a really good game. And it's those little details that start to push you into greatness whenever you have those details. So which I kind of also thought was a little bit interesting, because Tango Gameworks is Shinji Mikami's company, or was. I don't think he's still there anymore. I think he retired or something. I can't remember. But Shinji Mikami, kind of helped bring up Hideki Kamiya, the creator of Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. So there was like that. And then the fact that Shinji Mikami, obviously, he created Resident Evil 4, which is also a game that has so many of those little details where that's what pushes it into like real greatness. So it's kind of weird that I feel like that feature was omitted. And I don't know if it was on purpose or what. I feel like it kind of maybe had to be, or maybe, I don't know. I'm very interested. It's been a while since I played it. I want to play through it again pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, point is, great game. Love it. It's one of the like kind of funnest and purest experiences I've had with a new game in the past few years. And so, yeah, really good. One indie game I did play, it's called Pseudoregalia. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Don't know. I believe the developer is called Ritzler, I think. Let me look that up. Yeah, Ritzler. But awesome game. Super awesome game. It's a 3D platformer, first and foremost, and then it is a 3D Metroidvania, which, if there's anything that I pray for into the wee hours of the night, it is more 3D Metroidvania-style games. And on top of that, I pray for more Metroidvania-style games where the progression is actually somewhat open, and maybe that progression is based on skill. Super Metroid, one of the best games ever made, if you ask me. I know these are really like, I'm like, oh dude, Resident Evil 4, Super Metroid. It's like, yeah, I get it. That's a very like, okay, everyone says they're the best games ever. We get it. It's like, but they're right. I believe it. I do. I also absolutely love Super Metroid, and that's one of my favorite things about Super Metroid is the fact that the better you get at the game and the more you learn about its kind of hidden mechanics and things like that as you play through your first and second time or whatever, it just gets so much more fun the more you play it. You can progress through the game kind of however you want to, while also still guiding you, so you're really not going to be that lost in it. But yeah, just open enough. Really good stuff. Like it a lot. And Pseudoregalia actually has that. Regalia? I need to know. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say Regalia again. But yes, Pseudoregalia is very, very open with its world. In fact, I maybe there's a couple locked doors or something like that. I don't know. But for the most part, the game is very, very open. And there's a lot of things you can do to, I guess you'd call it sequence breaking. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it that when it comes to developers clearly intending you to be able to do it. So the point is, it's very open in the first place, but also the better you get at the game's mechanics and figuring out how they work and sort of the quirks with things like the wall jumping and stuff like that, then it opens up like even more possibilities for you to just get to some place seemingly early or something like that, or you don't have to take the roundabout way to do something. But yeah, it's super fun, super good as a 3D platformer. I think a lot of 3D platformers simplify movement too much and don't let you get quite expressive enough and don't have it be quite skill-based enough. But I feel like this game has a really good grasp on it. It's just got a cool vibe too. It's got a very Nintendo 64 vibe. I guess you could say PS1 as well, but it definitely looks like a Nintendo 64 game, which is awesome. I love the way the game looks. It's got a cool atmosphere. It's nice and short. I feel like it's just long enough to not feel like it's a short game, but it is a very tight game. Yeah, lots of fun. I only played through it once, and it only took me like an afternoon, and I'm definitely going to play it again at some point. No doubt about that, but yeah, I love it. It's like the kind of game I love. I love 3D platformers. I love 3D games that have really meticulous level design and really meticulous worlds. I feel like it's such a no-brainer for 3D games to basically take on the Metroidvania sort of formula, but it just seems like something that doesn't happen a lot. So yeah, love it. Really good game. I think it's like the only indie game I've gotten to play this year. But yeah, really good. The only reason it wouldn't be like my favorite game of the year or something like that is because I do feel like it could be like, or no, I don't necessarily think it should be longer, but if a sequel was made, or, you know, a spiritual successor from the same developer, where it's the same style of game, a 3D platform or whatever, I would like it to be a little bit longer. I would like the visuals to have a little bit more variety, which could also help with not getting too lost, and maybe fleshing out the combat just a little bit more. I don't really want like Devil May Cry Bayonetta combat in every game, but I mean the combat in it is good, but there's only so many like enemy types and stuff like that, and yeah, like I would love more like punctuations like that. Which there's another game, I don't know when this came out, and I don't think I even played it this year. I think I played it last year, but this game called Blue Fire, that's really cool. Also an indie game. It absolutely wears the fact that it's an indie game on its sleeve. Clearly very inspired by Hollow Knight and like A Hat in Time. So yeah, it'll feel very familiar if you've played either of those games. But I like it a lot. It's a 3D Metroidvania game. It's a little bit more Zelda-y in that it's got specific moments with like more enemies and dungeony type areas and things like that, but it's really cool too. So if you are also like me and starved for 3D Metroidvanias, that's a good one. I like it. Plus I think they have like a game that is just like a level editor for Blue Fire, and it's really cool. So you can check that out too since you know we're gamers, game creators here. So that's like a fun thing to play around with as far as just like not having to get into a 3D engine, but a cool game where you can do stuff in 3D. So yeah, check that out, Blue Fire, and I believe it's Blue Fire Void Maker. I don't remember exactly, but I believe that they're sold together on Steam and they're priced very well. Which so is Pseudoregalia. The game's actually super cheap. It's like $5 or $6. Great game. Buy it. Speaking of 3D Metroidvanias, Metroid Prime Remastered came out this year. I really like Metroid Prime a lot. I like the Metroid series a lot. I played Prime 1 and 2, and I played about half of 3. Which I had played Prime 1 a while ago, but before the Wii U eShop shut down, I thought it would be wise to get the just the Wii version of the Metroid Prime trilogy that was just on there. And so I would just have 2 and 3 and wouldn't have to spend a lot of money on them at some point. And so I went all the way through 2. 2 is an exhausting game. I liked it a lot. I had a good time, but Metroid Prime 2, if you're like me and you are just fully against looking up walkthroughs, can kind of be super brutal, especially towards the end. I should say, if you're like me and you don't like to look up walkthroughs, but also you're stupid, then it can be a really brutal game. So yeah, but I had a good time. I really liked the environments in that game were really killer. But so I played half of 3 and I was enjoying it. I had known that Metroid Prime 3 was a different beast than Prime 1 and 2. So I was going in with the right mindset and I was enjoying it, but I just kind of got burnt out at the time. And I think I just wanted to play something else for a minute, and then I just never came back to it. So I'll finish it at some point. But anyways, Metroid Prime Remastered is good. It's a good remaster of Metroid Prime. Overall, there's a couple like things that are like a little lost in the translation, as happens with essentially every single remaster ever made with something, which is unfortunate, but Neril did a really good video on it, so watch that if you haven't and you've already played the games. Of course that video will have a lot of spoilers, but yeah, no, I think it's good, and I like 3D Metroidvanias. I enjoy them, and because of that I really love Metroid Prime, and especially because it was a game from like 2004. I think that was like not a time where something like that was being done, especially because now it's still a time where something like that is not done. So I really love it for that. I don't think I love it quite as much as a lot of people do. Like, again, I do love it, and I really enjoyed both times I played it. But yeah, I wouldn't gush over Metroid Prime as much as some people do, while I do gush over Super Metroid as much as other people do, if that makes sense. But yeah, I still love it. I still like it a lot. Very glad to have it on modern console, especially one that I can play before I go to sleepy time. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, I think that was it. I think that's all I actually ended up playing that was new in 2023. I played I started Final Fantasy 16, did not finish it. So I won't really talk about that either. But yeah, I mean, that was it. I want to talk about some games that, it was crazy, right? Like, especially the last couple months of 2023, they went sort of like bonkers on game releases. I'll probably forget some, but like thinking about like recently, it was like Mario Wonder came out, Sonic Superstars came out, Mario RPG just came out, Sea of Stars came out, Spider-Man 2 just came out, Alan Wake 2 just came out, Lies of P just came out pretty much. Like, you know, these are all just within the past couple months. A lot of games. There's definitely stuff I'm forgetting. And then, of course, there's so many indie games that I just don't know about because, one, I've been off social media, which it's a lot harder to hear about indie games when you're off social media. That is by far the worst thing about disconnecting in that way. But I mean, yeah, so lots of stuff that came out, and that kind of just like killed my motivation to like, it's weird. A lot of games coming out did not excite me. It made me go like, oh God. Obviously, I'm glad that they're all out, and I would like to play all of these games at some point. You know, Pikmin 4, didn't play Pikmin 4. That was a little bit earlier, but yeah, I mean, like, that was coming out, man, yeah, it's a lot of stuff, man, and it's like, I didn't play the Dead Space remake, which, you know, I said I don't like remakes. I played the original Dead Space, thought it's great. I really like that game a lot. The Dead Space remake looks good to me. You know, I have a prejudice against remakes, but it looks good. I don't know if I like it more or less. I've only played the original one time all the way through, but I mean, it looks good to me. At least wait a minute. Let me make sure. Was Dead Space this year? It was, right? Okay, yeah, it was. It was just in January, so yeah, it was this year. But yeah, the Dead Space remake. There was the Callisto Protocol, which I wanted to play up until it came out, and then everyone said that they didn't want to play it, and that doesn't mean that I don't ever want to give it a shot, but I'd probably rather give Dead Space a shot, maybe Dead Space Remake a shot before that at this point. But, you know, anyway, so there's that. There's Armored Core 6 looks interesting enough. I want to try that out. Never played one of those games before, but, I mean, looks cool. I would love to try Baldur's Gate 3. Sea of Stars looks amazing. I've been waiting for it for a long time, but I'm actually not going to play that game, or pretty much any game that looks like any kind of similar to Rose of Starcross until I finish Rose of Starcross. Unfortunately, that one's just going to have to wait in the first place. But I played the demo for Bayonetta Origins, and I really liked it. I just never ended up picking it up, but I definitely want to play that game, but I haven't. Didn't play the original Spider-Man, but I wanted to play Spider-Man 2. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, you know, I don't know if anyone cares about that. I don't really care about Star Wars at all, but that is a game that is a 3D Metroidvania. At least I would assume so. The first one kind of was, and I think I played about a third of the first one and was really, you know, was overall enjoying it, but it just didn't hook me hard enough to keep me playing, but I did enjoy it, so I don't know much about Jedi Survivor, if it's actually like a decent improvement on it, or if it's more of just, you know, if it's about the same, but I mean, regardless, I wanted to at least check it out. Alan Wake 2, pretty interested in checking that out. I think I played the first one this year, or I played it last year. It was recently, though, that I played Alan Wake 1 for the first time. And there were some things I liked about it. There were definitely things I did not like about it. Got pretty mixed feelings on Alan Wake. But overall, I would totally love to play Alan Wake 2. It also just looks amazing, like visually. So, yeah, that's one I really wanted to play. Viewfinder. Was waiting on that game for a while. I have to play that at some point. I played the demo of that. It's so cool. It's so interesting. If you don't know anything about Viewfinder, look it up. But yeah, that came out. I wanted to play that. Pizza Tower. Everyone talks about Pizza Tower, or did at some point, and it looks fun. It looks cool. I want to play it, and I haven't yet. So yeah, there's just things I need to do. Now, I guess before I get off of that and don't have any other games to talk about, I want to mention a game that did not come out in 2023, but I played this year, the very beginning of the year, the Outer Wilds 2019. Amazing video game. Everyone said it was amazing. I do this thing where I cross my arms and I go, well, see about that, and then I never play it. And then I eventually play it, and it was amazing. I love it. It totally lived up to what I'd heard about it, and yeah, I loved it. It's great. It's a fantastic game, amazing game. Now, to be fair, I don't have a lot of experience to compare it to similar types of games, so like Myst or Riven, you know, that sort of vibe. You know, maybe you'd count The Witness in there or something like that. I played about half of The Witness, got stuck because I'm stupid and was like, I'll come back to this, and then I never did, but I need to also finish that game. But But the Outer Wilds is perfect for me. Like, I loved it. I loved everything about it. Super cool, awesome vibes, really interesting world. And I'm not going to say anything about it because if you haven't played it, you absolutely should, and you should know absolutely nothing about it. But from just a game design standpoint, so impressive to me that they stuck with what was clearly their main game design pillar, their main mantra. They absolutely stuck with it through the whole entire experience, and it never stops getting you. You know, it's just awesome. It's so cool. Really love it. I wish more games would learn lessons from it, especially like open world games or adventure games and things like that. But yeah, great stuff. There's a DLC for it that I haven't played, and I'm just kind of holding off. I'm saving it. I'm saving it for a rainy day because I know I'm probably going to love it. So yeah, haven't played that yet. I think it's coming out on Switch soon, like a full version or something like that. I probably won't play the Switch version of it, but that's good. That's good that there's a Switch version of it coming out. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I really thought about it and it was one of my favorite games in the top. I don't know, in the top like 20 or 30. Something like that, you know, but I mean, maybe higher. I don't know. If you've played the game, you'll understand why I haven't revisited it and why I have given myself a lot of space from it. So it's been a minute since I've really sat down and thought about it, but it is a game that I think about. So great work to that team. So anyways, that was games that I've actually played / want to play. And yeah, if you're here hanging out with this video, you're watching it while you game on your Nintendo Switch at night before you go to sleep, let me know what some of your favorite games were, or just anything that you think I should check out that I might not know about, or something that I might know about, but you're just going to be like, hey, it's really good. So yeah, let me know. I need to know about like more what's going on, because I feel like this year more than any, I have been so removed from what's been going on with games. So yeah. Say the devil speaks without a sound of love. Okay. Before I get on to the Game Awards, I'm going to quickly mention some other media that I experienced this year, because that's all part of the equation too, right? I like movies and things like that. Not nearly as much as games, so I'm probably not really going to talk about any of these that much. But I figured I'd mention it. Why not? I'm still procrastinating and I'm still cozy. So I think I've seen like 5 or 6 movies that actually came out this year or something. I do not watch movies, to be honest with you. I like movies, plenty of movies I love, but I'm like, even though movies are way easier to watch than to play a video game, I'd still always manage to do way less new movies probably. So let's see, Barbie, that was a big one. Love that movie. Super funny, really good music. Awesome sets. The style of the film was just great filmmaking, and it was so cool to have like a cultural phenomenon type movie happen, where like for the first like month or something while the Barbie movie was out, like every time you'd go by a theater, it's like there would be like everyone dressed in pink. Like I saw Barbie like 3 times in the theater within like the first 3 weeks of it being out or something like that. And every time I went, the theater was like full and everyone was in pink and everyone was so excited to see a Barbie movie. Like that was awesome. I feel like it's been a long time since something like that has happened, where like everyone's just on the same page. We're just like, I'm just really excited to see his movie. And I'm even going to kind of dress up for it. So yeah, that was awesome. It's definitely like a very my style movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of my favorite movies. I think it's the only movie here that I've seen more than once, except for one, but I'll get to that. I saw Skinamarink, horror movie. I love horror movies, and Skinamarink was awesome. Super unique in its atmosphere and its tone and filmmaking. Normally if you say something's very stylish, your brain immediately goes like, oh, you mean like Persona 5, or at least my brain does. But no, it's a very, very stylish movie. You clearly see the voice of the director of the movie. It's just so unique to itself. And its presentation is so cool. It's a creepy movie, and when it comes to horror movies, it's obviously super subjective whether or not you're scared by something or whether or not something is effective on you or whatever. But personally, it's like the only movie in recent memory that I can think of that actually did elicit a form of fear in me. So I think that's great. If you saw the movie and weren't scared, feel free to make fun of me. But Yeah, I really like it a lot, and it'll be a tough watch for me again. Not because it was like that scary, but I got a nephew now, man. And it's hard watching a movie like that when you have a nephew, you know? It's hard watching horror movies where the kids are scared, and it's actually like a scary movie, and it doesn't feel like Hollywood schlock. It's hard because my brain immediately goes like, oh, that's him, that's the guy. I need to save him. So yeah, it's kind of like it's a tougher watch than it would have been for me like 2 years ago. But anyways, I liked it. Those are definitely my 2 favorite movies of the year that I actually saw. But I also saw John Wick 4. Liked it. I think the John Wick movies are pretty fun. I think people tend to overstate how like pure they are as action movies. And I feel like most people know that. Like if I say that, I feel like it won't shock people, right? Like that can't be a hot take, is it? Like everyone tells you about John Wick 1 and they're like, "Oh dude, it's just a guy and his dog dies, so then he goes and kills everyone and he gets revenge." It's like, oh, that sounds like a pretty good setup for a movie for a guy to go beat up a bunch of people and stuff, you know? Like, I'm on his side if that's truly what happened. And that is, you know, more kind of what it is, but first John Wick has a lot of like story and a lot of like not action in it, which is totally fine, but people don't sell it that way. People sell the John Wick movies as like nonstop action from start to finish. And so once you settle into the fact that that's like not what it is, then I enjoy them. But John Wick 4 was absolutely my favorite one of all of the movies. I think it has the most creative scenes. And by that, like my brain immediately just goes to one. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's a very cool scene to see, especially as someone who loves indie games, like an indie developer. Like you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. So yeah, John Wick 4, cool. I like it. I saw Mario, which was like the highest grossing animated movie ever for like a second until Spider-Verse came out immediately after it, which I also saw Spider-Verse. Yeah, I mean, Mario's been talked about to death, right? Like, can't really say anything new other than the animation was good. The technology of 3D animation continues to blow my mind as more movies come out. The visual fidelity of the movie is insane. From what I remember, they did a pretty good job with a lot of the score. Not the soundtrack choices, but like the score. The soundtrack choices were pretty lame. But yeah, I think I feel the same way a lot of people do about it, which is like, it definitely wasn't bad. I kind of, when you hear it's going to be the Minions guys making the movie, right? You just kind of assume you're like, this is probably going to be a kind of annoying movie for like little kids, right? Which I don't care if I like the Mario movie or not, you know? I really don't need the Mario movie to exist. It does not matter to me at all. I love the Mario video games, and I will always have those. So Mario will always be in my heart. But yeah, I definitely don't really think anything negative about it, to be honest with you. But I also don't really think that positively about it either. It's just kind of very in the middle of the road. Like I said, the visuals are pretty insane in the movie. And then I think most people agree that the casting was weird. And what happens in the movie is very plain. There's not really much going on in the story, you know, especially when you compare it to especially the classic Pixar movies and stuff like that. You know, those are kids' movies and they've all got interesting stories and characters and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I think I feel just like how most people feel about the Mario movie, which is just like not too strongly one way or the other. I don't know. That's almost certainly not true. Like I said, I don't really go on the internet that much, so I'm sure there is a massive amount of people who feel extremely passionately about the Mario movie in both directions. So yeah, but anyways, that's about it. I'll totally say I'm way more worried about that live action Zelda movie, that's for sure. But kind of like the Mario game thing, I don't really need a Zelda movie anyway, so I don't really care if it's bad or if it's good. If it's good, that's great, but if not, I don't really care. So, you know, not really invested one way or the other. I think Nintendo is really, really good at making video games, and that's kind of all I need them to be good at. But yeah, then there was Spider-Verse. Loved that movie. I love that they went so much harder with the art style. Like they just fully went into it in this movie, and it's just so... See, this is what, when I say this movie's stylish, that's what I think normally when I hear that word. But yeah, very stylish movie. Really cool. It was really weird how, like, you know, there were multiple versions in the theaters because apparently the production was so terrible towards the end of it, and probably for the whole thing because it's a 3D animated movie, so of course it's got to be, you know, horrible for some reason. Yeah, that sucks. It really sucks whenever there's like a blight on a cool thing like that. But I mean, you know, I haven't looked into it too much, mostly just because I don't want to get sad about things. But completely divorced from that, I really like the movie a lot. Now for the movie that I've actually seen more than once that isn't Barbie, I've seen Elemental probably like 6 times collectively, because my nephew likes it and he's 2. So yeah, this movie is a great example of what I was talking about with like how insane 3D like technology and like rendering has come. Because I think the movie goes way too far with it, but there are shots in this movie that just look like real life if you just ignore the extremely cartoony characters, or if it's like a shot without the cartoony characters. Like, it's crazy. It just looks like real life, which I don't think looks good. I think makes the movie very like weird to look at a lot of times, especially with the character design of the characters. But yeah, I mean, the rendering technology is insane. I mean, that's been what Pixar has been doing. Like, I think I remember it was like Toy Story 4 was the first Pixar movie that I saw where I was like, what? Why is it all real? Why does it look real? I didn't know that at that time. I did not know that like a 3D fully animated movie could look that real. Like that, I haven't watched Toy Story 4 in a long time since it came out, but I mean, even just thinking back, or I'll just actually use Elemental as the example. The environments in Elemental look so much more real than so many of the CG environments in Marvel movies, which is insane. I mean, obviously, because Disney is not paying the people at Marvel to actually pay their animators and 3D artists and things like that. But my point is, when you get used to seeing the Marvel, Star Wars, whatever live action Disney stuff that looks completely fake and not real, it's easy to forget that 3D technology is at a point where it basically does look completely real. And it's so funny that it's like Pixar where you see that, where you're like, oh yeah, it can look exactly like real life basically, but I also don't want it in these cartoon movies. So it's really funny, it's really interesting. But yeah, so anyways, I also part 2. I'm back from a short break. I had to get chicken nuggets and listen to Barbie's soundtrack. Okay, was I talking about movies I watched or didn't watch? I watched Insidious, The Red Door, and I watched VHS 85. I have nothing to say about either of those, probably. Well, if my sister was here, I would probably have more to say about them, but I'm here in a blanket with a space heater on me with chicken nuggets, and that is not the vibe to talk about the minutia of the average horror movie. Yep. That was all I watched. I did not watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. I really want to. It seems like the kind of movie that I would probably really like. I don't know anything about it other than it's kind of weird, so I'm in. Yeah, I would love to watch it, but that'll have to come later. Oh, and I mentioned John Wick 4. These movies did not come out anywhere near 2023, but I watched The Raid 1 and 2. Pretty dang cool movies. The first one definitely especially lived up to the hype that people had given it. So good action movie. Really good. You should watch it if you like those kind of things. I don't know. And that was about it. I also watched the Scott Pilgrim show. Really liked it a lot. I love Scott Pilgrim. I watched the movie like a million times when it came out, and I read the graphic novels after that. And yeah, I like Scott Pilgrim, and I like the TV show. And I think that's really all I have to say about that too. I'm gonna do the Game Award nominees. Oh, you know what? I do want to mention. Oh, okay, wait. I let me mention also the movies that I really wanted to see but didn't for some reason. I believe Shin Kamen Rider came out this year. Didn't watch that, but I really want to. A Godzilla movie is coming out right now, and I love Godzilla movies, so I'm definitely going to watch that. That'll probably be like the moment that's a home release, I'll watch that. I didn't see Beau is Afraid, the Ari Aster movie. Really would love to see that. A lot of when it comes to movies, a lot of them are like, when can I coordinate to watch them with my sister who has a full-time job and a 2-year-old? So yeah, we have like a very small amount of time every now and then. Hi. Oh, okay. All right. Love you. Bye. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, we only have a little bit of time to coordinate actually like crossing movies off the list or whatever. So that's definitely one of them. Blackberry is totally one of them. Matt Johnson is hilarious. Nirvana the band, The Show, is one of the funniest things to ever exist, starring Matt Johnson and Jay McCarroll. Incredibly funny. They did the We Shop Wednesday. They did Update Day, you know? So they have an entire... First, I think that was from a web series from X amount of years ago. But there's 2 seasons released of an actual TV show called Nirvana the band, The Show, from like... That started in 2017. And the entire show is that funny. If you ever thought that clip was funny, the entire show is hilarious and it's great. But yeah, Matt Johnson did Blackberry and Jay McCarroll did the music in Blackberry. So I really want to see that really, really bad. And then there's like some random horror movies. Like there's like an Exorcist movie and a Saw movie, Evil Dead movie. I'll probably watch those at some point. I think the Saw movies are very funny. I love the Saw movies. I really love the Saw movies. So that one I really want to watch. But yeah, that's about it for movies. If there are movies that you want to recommend to me also, or TV shows or something, let me know. That's also something where I will always add to a list. And it's better to have things added to a list than to completely forget that they exist. It's my motto. But yeah, that's it. Oh, and yeah, I mean, I guess this has kind of been like slightly like recommendations / very touch and go opinions on like everything I talked about. But if anything sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. But the one thing that I have that's just a straight up recommendation is a YouTube channel called Any Austin, ANY space AUSTIN. And he's just great. It's just a fantastic YouTube channel, especially as a developer. He's got a series called Odd and Unremarkable Places in Games. So he's done a bunch of games, and it's just amazing. It's wonderful. It's such a fantastic bit of love for a very specific thing about video games. But as developers, we are all going to be so much more like. It's very easy to appreciate his videos in the first place, especially if you're thinking about just like vibes or you were really into liminal spaces or something like that. But as a developer, it's just amazing to see someone care about the places in video games where you're putting your stuff together and you're just like, well, this place just has to be here because everything else does, right? Like, it's weird. Just if you haven't seen any of those videos before, they're just great. Just go to that YouTube channel. He also has a very funny series on getting the unemployment statistics of different video game towns. It's just an excellent YouTube channel that I believe I found this year. I think I found maybe like a year ago or something. But anyways, just great stuff. Okay, Game Award nominees time for guessing. I'm not going to go through and vote on stuff because I haven't played all these games, so why would I? But I do just want to guess what I think everything's going to win. First thing, let's do it the opposite way. Let's save the game of the year. No, should we? Oh, it's like a candy store. I'm not going to do any of the esports one. Don't understand any of that or the content creator. Probably don't know any of these people. Let me check. Do I know any of these people? I absolutely do not know any of these people. So can't do that one. Let's see. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to start backwards just because I want to. Most anticipated game. This is a strange award, is it not? Am I correct in saying that this is a very strange award to exist? I mean, I guess it's nice, but isn't it? I mean, it's even more so a popularity contest. It's just saying like people have managed to get the most hype over this, right? Like, that's weird. It's also really funny to see like Star Wars Outlaws next to like Final Fantasy sets. Oh, okay. Oh, sure. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not on social media, so I don't actually know the temperature of any of these, but I would assume Final Fantasy would have to win. I assume there's a very passionate amount of people who are very excited about Like a Dragon, but I don't know. I don't think it would compare to something like Final Fantasy VII with most anticipated game. But as far as the indie community goes, I think Hades too, indie community, I mean, like, Hades is one of those indie games that definitely went well above the line of indie game. You know, like, it was like a Hollow Knight sort of scenario where it's just like, oh yeah, everyone talks about Hades. So I imagine it's definitely got to be between these two. I know people like Tekken, but I don't know how it compares to like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat in terms of excitement. I don't know. Let me know if you know. But yeah, I'm going to say it's got to be Final Fantasy VII. But it would be cool if Hades took it. But again, it's just weird. It's a very weird thing to have. Can you wouldn't that be weird if the Oscars had like most hype movie? Is that a thing on the Oscars? I don't know. Okay. Anyways, let's go to the next one. Best adaptation. Also a little bit weird because it's not like, I mean, these aren't video games, but okay. It's got to be The Last of Us, right? I think this is by far the most positively received video game adaptation maybe ever. Am I wrong about that? I could be wrong about that. I don't even remember what all has been adapted, but I definitely want to say like this has got to be the highest one, like critically and stuff. Like I said, I know a lot of people are going to be like really excited about the Mario movie, and a lot of people probably do feel very passionately about it. So, it could be there. I kind of doubt. Obviously, I did not see Gran Turismo and have not seen Twisted Metal. But Castlevania Nocturne, I really liked the first season of the first Castlevania animated series. I really liked the first. And the first season is the first 4 episodes. I was talking to a friend, and I forgot that it's really easy to forget that the first season of the first Castlevania show is only 4 episodes. It almost feels like an opening movie. But I really liked the first 4 episodes of the original show. And then I liked things about the rest of the show, and I like things about Nocturne. I didn't finish Nocturne, but part of the reason is also because I don't really like it very much. I don't really like the writing in the Castlevania shows. I really don't like the writing much. I love Castlevania, and the animation is cool. The art style is cool. There's some good fight scenes. I think it's the writing and the directing as far as the voice acting goes that I don't really like, but I think the voice actors are good. I think there's some pretty good voice acting in these shows. Like I said, I've only watched a few episodes of Nocturne, but I know that I really liked some of the voice acting in the first Castlevania show. So anyways, that's just me talking about it. It's not going to win, I don't think. It's got to be The Last of Us, and then maybe Mario, but it's got to be The Last of Us, right? That's my lock. That's my guess. Best multiplayer, I don't know. Mario, I guess that counts, right? I didn't know that. I haven't looked at any of these. Okay, best multiplayer. I mean, the multiplayer in Mario Wonder is cool, but does it count compared to these? I don't know how the multiplayer works in Baldur's Gate, but especially these are like multiplayer games, right? That's weird. So I'm just gonna say not Mario, probably. Do I just have to assume I know what the game of the year nominees are? So I mean, does that just immediately default it to being Baldur's Gate? I guess not. I mean, being a better multiplayer game technically doesn't mean you're a better game, but I mean, obviously, I don't think the Game Awards are indicative of the quality of a game at all. But in their eyes, right? Like if they're saying that Baldur's Gate 3 is better than these 3 games, right? So does that mean, but the point is, it doesn't mean that they think it's a better multiplayer game. Well, because obviously, Peyton, Mario Wonder is here, and I just said that I think that's like impossible for Mario Wonder to win. So yeah, that logic doesn't work. I'm just gonna lock Street Fighter 6, right? People like that game. I think I didn't play that. I did not play it. I didn't play it. I know people are angry about Diablo 4 with the, microtransactions or whatever it is. Which I've heard that Diablo 4 is like a good game on its own, but the microtransaction or whatever stuff ruins it, which is sad. I seem to remember the ads for this game being something, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything definitively, but we're going to say Street Fighter 6 is what is going to win. I should probably write all this down. I'm not going to remember this when I'm actually watching the Game Awards. Also, it's hard to tell in the Game Awards because sometimes they don't really give... I was talking to a friend about this. They don't give like fanfare properly to things in the Game Awards, except for like actually even the reveals don't really have fanfare. It's kind of like they'll be going and then Jeff will just be like, and the winner of this category it's this. Now a world premiere. It's like, wait, what? Did he just announce who won best soundtrack or whatever? Yeah, it doesn't feel that theatrical. So, and sometimes it can be very easy to have your eyes glaze over. I don't know any of these games. I don't know racing games. Hot Wheels. It's Hot Wheels. I want it to be, I'm going to say it's Forza. I'm going to be really rooting for Hot Wheels. I'm probably actually going to be screaming at Jeff through the television. I only watch the Game Awards in a rented out movie theater where I'm by myself. I'm going to scream at the silver screen for Hot Wheels, but I'm just going to guess it's Forza. I like how the category is best sports / racing. Was there just not enough racing games and not enough sports games separately? Yeah, because this is Formula One. So these are all racing games. This is the only one. It's just a soccer game, a football game. If you like. It's Forza. Moving on. Best sim strategy game. Advance Wars. Now there's a story that I don't know much about, except that took a real long time to come out for seemingly a lot of different reasons. So crazy. Wait a minute. I get, yeah, Pikmin 4. Sure. That counts. I don't know. I do not know. I want to say, like, who are all of the categories in the Game Awards voted by players? Like, we all vote on these, or is there an actual is there also like a committee? I can't remember. Like, is there an audience thing? I know for Game of the Year, there's an audience win, and then there's like a committee vote win, I'm pretty sure. But is it the same for every category? I don't know. If it's audience, I kind of just feel like Pikmin 4 could potentially just get the sheer amount of votes. I don't know. Maybe Fire Emblem is. I think Fire Emblem fans are very passionate. I don't remember what the reception of this game was. Obviously, I didn't play it, so... but I also hear that these are really good, and this game kind of had entered into that like sort of legendary status where I think by the time it came out, probably a lot of people grabbed it just because they were like, wow, I've heard of this. And I think it's good, but do they tend to draw a line with remake, remasters, whatever? I don't know. I'm just going to guess Pikmin 4. I think it would probably be, and I haven't talked about these at all because I don't know anything about them. This game looks fun. This looks like the kind of thing I would love to try out. So I don't know. Maybe this wins. I don't know. I actually don't know with this one, but if I have to give it a lock, I'm just going to say Pikmin 4 because my brain immediately is like, most famous, kind of. I don't know. Is Fire Emblem? Moving on, Peyton. Stop talking. Best family. Mario wins. It's Mario. There is no other option, right? Hasn't it been, right? It's Mario. I wanted to play this. This is cool. When my nephew gets older, he loves Mickey. So when my nephew gets older, we're gonna play this together. I think they actually got it. I think my sister got it, and they played it a little bit together. But yeah, it's Mario. Mario will win this. Best fighting. Ooh, forgot about this. Pocket Bravery. I've never heard of this ever. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. But Street Fighter 6, right? I think so. I mean, was Mortal Kombat 1 very well received? I don't know if it was or not, but I just kind of have to assume it's going to be Street Fighter 6. So, okay, now I will say this. Street Fighter 6 is nominated for Best Multiplayer. Mortal Kombat 1 is not, and they are just multiplayer games. So, if that's not a little bit telling, I don't know what it is. It's Street Fighter 6. We're locking that in. Best RPG. I think we're about to start getting into the parts where we see trends with the Game Awards, where you're going to see a few different categories that start having a lot of overlap with each other in terms of what actually gets nominated. Let's see here. It is Baldur's Gate 3, of course, right? Like, is there any way that if it's best RPG, right? And the Game Awards clearly have a tendency to love action RPGs and action games, right? So, if none of these got nominated for Game of the Year, there's no way that Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't win, right? That's logic, my friends. Yeah, I don't see a Bethesda game winning because of all the shortcomings that Bethesda games normally have in terms of technical stuff and whatever. Haven't played Starfield. Don't know myself. Sea of Stars looks great. Looks awesome. I would love to play this game. I'm going to play it as soon as I can. I bet it is very good. Eliza P, good. I talked about it earlier, so yeah, I think there's some shortcomings there for sure. But I enjoy the game a lot, but I wouldn't call it a great. I don't think I'd call it a great RPG. It's more like it's more action than RPG. For sure. And also, funnily enough, same with Final Fantasy 16. It's probably like equal amounts of RPG as Liza P is, but Final Fantasy 16 is definitely more of like an action game. So, and both of these just having like light RPG elements. In fact, I don't know, maybe even Liza P is maybe more of an RPG than Final Fantasy 16 is. But anyways, yeah, it's Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is the lock. Best action adventure, Zelda, probably, right? Maybe Resident Evil 4. Now I'm going to have to start giving away my opinions on probably what I think the Game Awards will do with the big boy reward. But, yeah, I mean, this is literally, these four are all nominated for Game of the Year. So, right, like Spider-Man is nominated, I'm pretty positive. So yeah, it is not Star Wars. Absolutely not. Yeah, it's tough. It's funny, and that's what I was talking about a minute ago with like overlapping things. Best action adventure for the Game Awards basically just means Game of the Year, because they tend to choose action adventure games for the Game of the Year, and they tend to choose big budget games, and most big budget games are action adventures. So yeah, we'll talk about this one at the end, actually, so as not to spoil too much of the discussion on actual Game of the Year, right? Best action game. This one is more interesting. Obviously, I've only played Hi-Fi Rush. And I don't really know much about Dead Island 2 and Remnant. I know what Dead Island 1 was. Don't really know what Remnant is. So just gonna have to guess. Barely know anything about Armored Core 6. And I know what Ghost Runner 1 was, which I didn't play that, but I wanted to play both of these. These both looked really good. So this is definitely a 2023 game that I keep forgetting about, but would love to play. I'm going to guess. I would love Hi-Fi Rush to win something. I really would. And I think it's a very good action game, like really good. And then the whole beat thing is really cool. The rhythm aspect is very cool, very fun. It doesn't get tedious. And because I'm kind of interested in checking out Armored Core 6, I haven't watched any gameplay of it, so I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how truly actiony it is. Like, I don't know how deep the combat seems or anything like that, or you know, how unique it seems. I don't know anything about it. So in my mind, I'm kind of just going between Ghost Runner 2 and Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, this is a From Software game, right? So that's just a big deal in terms of like popularity, right? And it's like we kind of want to give FromSoft something, right? So by we, I mean the Game Awards probably wants to kind of be like, okay, yeah, good job on your Not Souls game. I sound so snarky sometimes. I don't mean that. I'm sorry, Mr. Robot Man. Look, I'm sorry. So I do think it's possible that Armored Core gets picked, but something in my bones is telling me Ghost Runner 2, just because, I mean, the first game looked great and it looked like a fun action game, and it's pretty, it seems pretty unique as far as like a bigger AA sort of game goes, right? Like, I think first person perspective, fast platforming and parrying and things like that feels like very indie game to me. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a million indie games around the same time as Ghost Runner or even before it that were probably really similar to it, and that were all really fun and good. But this is one of those ones where like it kind of, it got popular and like did well. I don't know anything about, I don't really know anything about One More Level or 505 Games, so I don't know how big the project was at its inception or anything like that, but I'm just going to assume kind of AA territory. But yeah, I'm gonna guess Ghost Runner 2. I'd be happy if Hi-Fi Rush won, which, yeah, like I said, I'm mostly between these two, but that's going to be my lock. I will be happy if this wins. I will not be surprised if this also took it. And like I said, I don't really know anything about these two games, but I would be surprised if they beat out these three, even though I don't know anything about them. Like I said, that's not me saying all three of these are so good. It's just I don't know anything about them, but these all seem like good contenders. So, yep. Locking in Ghost Runner 2. Here we go. Best VR AR. Ooh. I have a VR headset. I don't have a PlayStation one, so I can't play this, and I can't play this to my utter chagrin. But this is tough. I saw like a trailer for this, and it looked, I think, interesting. I think I've seen a trailer for this, and it also looks interesting. And I imagine a Gran Turismo racing game is probably pretty fun in VR. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to have to assume it's going to be Horizon, right? Because it was a totally built up from the ground VR game. Sony marketed it a lot. It's an action adventure game. They love these things. And also Horizon, both years that Horizon got released, they didn't get to win anything really because they were put up against Zelda and then Elden Ring. Which is still probably one of the funniest and also kind of saddest things ever. But I mean, not that I think necessarily that the Horizon games are like super incredible and that they deserved to win Game of the Years those years. But it's very unlucky for Guerrilla Games. So I do feel bad for them on that. So maybe they'll take this. Maybe they'll take this. I think they will. I love Resident Evil Village, and I think the VR mode would probably be very fun, but I kind of feel like it isn't going to win just because it's a VR mode added to a pre-existing game. But this looked cool too. I maybe wouldn't be shocked if this one. I bet I feel like this could possibly have a lot of like weird stuff in VR. So I'm going to lock in Horizon and say maybe it's this one. And watch, it's just going to be like Gran Turismo, which again, I don't know, but locking it in. Okay, best mobile game. Don't know anything about this. If YouTubers and their ads have taught me anything, it's got to be Honkai Star Rail. But it's probably, I didn't know there was a Monster Hunter one. I literally didn't know that. Did people like Ever Crisis? I don't remember. I should have talked to Dan before this. All right. I might actually just guess Honkai Star Rail. That's probably what I'm gonna pick. Actually, I'm gonna lock that in. I don't know. Look at this background. It's very Ghibli looking, isn't it? Don't you think? Okay, yeah, I'm locking it in. Hello Kitty Island Venture. Probably fun. Who knows? I don't. Yep. That's a lock. I have nothing to say about that. Best debut indie game. Immediately my brain just goes Pizza Tower Viewfinder as like the ones that I actually managed to hear things about, even though I have stayed off the internet. Viewfinder's really cool. I don't know. Like I said, I played the demo of it and really liked it a lot. But I was definitely wanting to see more of the game just to see like how far and how weird the concept goes and how much use it gets. But I kind of want to say Viewfinder, but in my head, I feel like this just had such an explosion of people just loving it from what I noticed. That's kind of hard to imagine they don't give it something, right? Ooh, that's tough. I like the art style in this. This is cool looking. I feel like I saw a trailer for this, and I don't remember it now. And I saw a trailer for this too, and I can't remember anything about it. This looks... I feel like I remember this looking interesting. So I really don't know. So this one's going to be tough. I'm just going to have to guess. But I have to just assume it's going to be Viewfinder just because it seems... It's so interesting what they did, and it on a technical level, I don't understand it. And that's just probably also me just not knowing 3D game development and also not being a very good programmer myself. So, but still, I'm just so impressed by it. I love these kind of interesting perspective games. Like there was, what the heck was it called? Superliminal was a pretty cool game. I like the way that worked. I like stuff like that. And so, yeah, I'm going to lock in Viewfinder. I don't think I'd be surprised if Pizza Tower won either, but like I said, I just haven't been able to play or even know a lot about indie games this year. So, yeah, let me know if you played any of these and if you think they're great and which ones I should play. Okay, previous. Let's go best, excuse me? Oh, okay, best debut indie game and then just best indie game. Okay. Then, yeah, it's got to be Viewfinder, right? Because Pizza Tower is not included in best indie game, but these three are. Okay, then maybe I was wrong about that. But I did lock in Viewfinder, so see, this is just me talking out my ass. I don't know anything. I remember seeing this. I want to play this too. It looked funny. Yeah. Ooh, I don't know. Ooh, I really don't know on this one. I want to say like with the hype and the fact that especially when it comes to indie games, people really, really like RPGs. I'm just gonna say Sea of Stars. That's what I'm gonna say. Again, for no reason other than like I'm just using my intuition, guys. I'm just ever heard of gaming. This is like that. So Sea of Stars, locking in for best indie game. Best community support. I don't know. I feel like for years now, like Final Fantasy XIV and No Man's Sky have like been in these categories. And I also just feel like they're probably the two greatest examples of like games that turned around their fates, their destinies. So I want to say it's one of them. I really do. And when it comes to that, I always want to say Final Fantasy XIV because I feel like people just go nuts about that game. You could probably say that about Cyberpunk too, considering the fact that, similar to like, especially No Man's Sky, like the fact that people clung on to this game so hard to keep it going. Maybe Cyberpunk. I don't know anything about these two at all when it comes to community support. I really don't know anything about these three. So, safe guess, Final Fantasy XIV. Again, I'm just gonna go for it, baby. I don't even remember who won last year, but I feel like it was probably Final Fantasy XIV, if this was a category last year. Yep, Final Fantasy XIV. Let's see, best ongoing. See, here we are, best ongoing, Final Fantasy XIV. Probably, maybe Fortnite? I don't know. Do people still play Apex Legends? I didn't know that. Like I said, I don't know anything about video games at all. Obviously people still play Genshin. Man, I guess this is why the idea is to vote and not just guess, but guessing is way more fun. If it's okay, here's the thing. If I pick anything that's not Final Fantasy XIV and then it turns out to be Final Fantasy XIV, I'll be like, no. But if I choose Final Fantasy XIV and it turns out to be another one, I'll be like, oh, well, I didn't know. I won't be so angry. I'm going to say Final Fantasy XIV again for both best ongoing and best people who like the game or whatever. Games for impact. This is normally a category where I'm very interested in playing the games that are on here. I played the demo of this. I don't know if I actually finished it, but it was like free on my Switch one night while I was like laying in bed, just like cold and not wanting to play any games that I had, but I just was looking into demos. Did not play enough to actually know what it is at all, but that's the closest I've gotten to playing any of these or even hearing about any of these. So let's see here. Ooh, I'm having to purely guess on the art. This is cool looking. I don't know what this is. I kind of want to play this just based on this art. Ooh, I'm gonna say it's this, right? I don't know what the rest of these are, but I feel like this is the most like probably RPG like. I mean, it's like a side scrolly thing though, so I mean, it's not even that much. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna guess it's this because I played a little bit of it, but also that's really it. I just played a little bit of it. It's a Space for the Unbound. Guessing. I do think I want to play more of this. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't even remember if I finished the demo. I have no idea what this is about. But that's my lock. Innovation in accessibility. This one's always interesting, and it's always got to be like the biggest boy game out there, right? Are you allowed to win accessibility if you have microtransactions? Are you like allowed to? I don't know. I don't know, but accessibility has been getting so good the past few years. This is an example of like a game award category probably having a hugely positive effect on video games. Like the fact that they include an innovation and accessibility award probably makes, especially these bigger AAA studios, like actually think about accessibility more and try and innovate with it. So that's really cool. But I don't know how any of these games do it. I don't. But I'm just gonna guess. I want to say Spider-Man 2, but I feel like fighting games have the potential to have a ton of accessibility things. So shoot, I'm gonna say Spider-Man 2. I'm gonna say Spider-Man 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Street Fighter 6, but I'm gonna say Spider-Man 2. Best performance. Oh, this should be a good guess considering I don't know any of these people. Can I just say Idris Elba just because he's cool and he's Knuckles? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. It's Idris Elba because he's cool and Knuckles. Best audio design. Okay, I did actually look at the first few categories like a week ago or whenever this went up. And when I got to best audio design, I was actually kind of shocked that Zelda is not on here. Now, looking at all these games, I understand why they're all probably here. I haven't played Alan Wake, so I don't know about the sound and audio design and stuff like that, but I can imagine Remedy doing a really good job with this and doing creative things with it too. I did play Control, so I know that there are times where they do. And anyways, point is, I understand why these are all here, but I was pretty surprised that Zelda was not there, considering the fact that it seems like they really beefed up the audio compared to Breath of the Wild. There's some really great sound design in there. And the fact that the sound design in the game is really important to the atmosphere and that it all comes together really well. So yeah, kind of weird, but yeah, like I also, it's not surprising to me that that these five are up here, right? I imagine Dead Space probably has pretty amazing sound design. Resident Evil 4 had some good sound in it. I mean, these are all just, or these three are just big AAA games, right? So they're just going to have great audio. That's kind of the thing. Now, if you're talking, when you talk about audio and sound design, right? In-game audio and sound design, does that mean we give points to Hi-Fi Rush for what it does with rhythm stuff? I don't think it does. I think audio design and sound design should probably specifically more be about, man, yeah, it's tough. It's kind of weird. I feel like that almost more goes under like soundtrack, because choosing the licensed music and also writing the original music that goes in the game, that's important to the gameplay. So I would maybe count that more as a soundtrack thing. And yeah, tough. I don't know. And I mean, I know there are a lot of like fun sound effects, like guitars bashing around. It's been since the game came out basically that I've played it, so I can't really remember the sound design specifically. The music does overshadow the sound design as far as just like immediately being in my memory goes. But I remember like fun sound effects, and like the sound the guitar would make was fun. And I can't remember if it would like be in tune with the music. I imagine it was, but like a Wind Waker style thing. But yeah, tough. This is a really tough one. I can imagine the Dead Space remake being such a visceral game and having so many weapons that are like alien and futuristic and stuff like that and having like you see like the steam back here and stuff like that, and like being in the confined space that you're in and needing good effects, like good proper real sounding reverb and things like that. I can imagine them doing it well, and I can imagine that also being something the Game Awards would really like, is like there's just a lot of audio design going on here, right? So I'm gonna lock in Dead Space. I'm not confident about it, but something is telling me. So I don't know. I'm sure they're all very good. Okay, best score and music. Yeah, let's see here. Don't know anything about Baldur's Gate 3 at all. And obviously I don't know anything about Alan Wake, but I've played the first Alan Wake and I've played Control. So I can maybe just kind of get a guessing feeling, which is to say that probably moments in this game are probably incredible when it comes to the music and the score. Probably great. Something I would be really into, I bet, if this game continues a trend that is in Alan Wake 1 and Control. But those are standout moments. So as far as I remember, it's been a minute since I played Final Fantasy 16, and like I said, I probably only played about half of it or less. I remember the music being really good. I remember it being Final Fantasy music, which is always great, but I can't say anything about it right now. I'm not refreshed on it, and I don't know. Hi-Fi Rush, keywords up here: original song and or licensed soundtrack. Fantastic on both accounts. I think the licensed soundtrack was so well chosen in this game. Loved all the Nine Inch Nails. I thought it was awesome. There were so many moments in this game where I was really feeling it. I would totally give it from, I mean, again, there's a reason I'm not voting, because I'm not familiar enough with these three, obviously, to have a proper opinion on it. But like, I would love for Hi-Fi Rush to win. The music in Zelda is great. Music in Zelda is always great. Music in Breath of the Wild was wonderful. Tears of the Kingdom continues on with the same style, but it does add some very noticeable flair that kind of gives it an identity from Breath of the Wild, and it's good. I like it a lot. I love the main motif that they introduced in the first teaser for this game. I think it's really cool. I love the way they did it. And yeah, there's really good moments in the music in Tears of the Kingdom. But similar to Breath of the Wild, I feel like there are moments where the music is great, and most of the soundtrack is there to prop up the rest of the game, there to accentuate what's happening in the rest of the game, which normally is some kind of calming, atmospheric exploring. Little twinkly pianos every now and then, and, very soothing melodies and things like that, that are pretty understated compared to Zelda games of the past, which just had incredibly catchy, bombastic music just right in your face the whole time, and it was all great. And so obviously great stuff. I don't think Zelda is not worth commending in terms of its music. I mean, in some moments are so great, and the composition is so unique in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And like you play a piece of music from either of those games, and just like it's just like, oh, that's from the video games, Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's so unique. So I mean, that really is a feat. But a lot of the music is music from Breath of the Wild or slightly changed from Breath of the Wild. And like I said, the style itself is from Breath of the Wild. So I feel like in my head, I just give it a lot less points for those reasons alone. Yeah, I'm just for the sake of hoping, I just kind of want to lock in Hi-Fi Rush. And honestly, it may sound weird to be basing that on, like, the original music in this game is awesome. It really is. But I think the licensed soundtrack choices worked so well in the points where they decided to use them, which complemented greatly their really great original score. So, yeah, I just love the soundtrack of this game. So I'm gonna hope it's this. So I'm gonna lock it in. Best art direction. Let's see here. I'm just not going to give it to it's not Breath of the Wild, right? So I wouldn't give it to Tears of the Kingdom. I wouldn't even nominate Tears of the Kingdom. It's got good art direction like Breath of the Wild did, but it absolutely feels like you should not do that, especially for something like art direction, which hasn't changed between the two games. And to be honest with you, like I said, I love this game. It's probably one of my favorite games in general, but I think in a lot of places it looks worse than Breath of the Wild. Or, not like significantly worse or anything like that, but I feel like there are times where the things that they made in Tears of the Kingdom were not things that they were thinking of in Breath of the Wild when they were tweaking the engine and the rendering in the first place. So there are moments in this game that look a little weird, I think. I still think it looks good. I still love the art direction in this game in Breath of the Wild, but I don't really think it should be up here. And I also just don't think it would win because of the reason that it's just a repeated art direction from the game before. Similarly, I mean, Mario Wonder did change its art direction a lot, and I like it way more than the new Super Mario Brothers games and stuff like that, but it still looks like Mario. But the thing is, I didn't finish the game, so I haven't seen all the environments and stuff like that. I don't know if they go like bonkers with it, so I'm going to hold my tongue on saying anything about this. But I mean, the Mario art style always looks great, but yeah, I don't know. Lies of P is Bloodborne in Unreal Engine, so it looks good. It looks really good, but almost similar to the Tears of the Kingdom thing. I don't. The artists did a great job, and they stuck to their direction, which clearly was just, the idea is let's make a Bloodborne game that, Bloodborne 2 never got made. Let's have someone make it, and I'm happy about that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's one of the only games you have to compare Lies of P to is Bloodborne, and I don't think that the art direction is as good. Graphically, it may look a little bit better, and it may look a little bit cleaner in a lot of places, but I think art direction wise, Bloodborne is leaps and bounds above Lies of P. So yeah, I don't think this would get it either. Hi-Fi Rush, comic booky, cel-shaded graphics, looks great, looks awesome, perfectly complements the gameplay with all of the sort of visual effects that they do for rhythm stuff and whatever. I feel like sometimes maybe the particles got pretty crazy, especially on the higher difficulty and later, so maybe that's a problem. I would have to think back about that, but I think in general the art direction of this looks great, and I've watched very little footage because I want to play it, but I have seen footage. I've seen some trailers and things, and I think Alan Wake 2 just looks amazing. And I don't mean that as like, oh, it's a realistic game, so it looks amazing. I think the art direction is awesome in it. I think it looks so cool. The driving reason I want to play this game is because the vibes just look awesome in it. So would not be surprised at all if Alan Wake 2 won. In fact, I'm gonna I don't know. I'm gonna say it's got to be one of these two, but man, I love the way Hi-Fi Rush looks. I really do. It looks awesome. My gut kind of says Alan Wake 2 is gonna get it. I don't think they tend to favor more realistic looking games in art direction in the past. I can't remember what has historically won at the Game Awards for best art direction, but I'm gonna guess that Alan Wake 2 is gonna win. That's my lock. Also, extremely interesting that, where are we? Hold on, let's just go back a couple. Come on. Okay, you see all of this, right? Interesting. Nothing that looks like any of these are up there, right? It's interesting. Not saying all of those games have better art direction than these games, but I just know for a fact that there's probably a lot of indie games that have better art direction than all of these games. I just have to assume that. So, and being cartoony and colorful does not immediately mean your art direction's better, right? But being interesting and unique is an important thing. There was, okay, I don't know anything about it, but there's a Bluey game made this year that looks like exactly like the show. Like visually, I think it looks really good. I only saw one trailer for it, so I don't know. But I mean, I feel like that kind of counts as like outstanding creative and technical achievement, is making your video game look exactly like the TV show it's based off of. You may say it wouldn't be that complicated because the show has a simple art style, but I don't know. I feel like in some way that is impressive, right? I don't know. I could be alone in that, or I could just be wrong about that. I don't know. But my point is I know that these five are probably not the best in general. Like I said, I think these two games look great. I think they really, really do. And I think these games look great too, and so does this one. I think they all look great, but I just know that there's got to be something more creative and technically impressive. At least one of these spots probably could have been swapped out with something, but who knows? So, but anyways, my lock, Alan Wake 2. Best narrative. I feel like Alan Wake's begging for it, right? I don't know what the narrative is at all, but I know Alan Wake, and I feel like it's just begging for it. And it might be the kind of thing that like the Game Awards is also like, oh yeah, that's the spice. So I'm just going to lock Alan Wake 2 for sure. Definitely going to lock Alan Wake 2. Don't know anything about the narrative of these two games, like literally nothing. I know this is Spider-Man. That's all I know about it. So I just assume Spider-Man type things happen, and there's probably a twist at some point in the story. That is all I know. And then I played about half of this. So locking in Alan Wake 2. because I know what Alan Wake wants to be, and I also feel like that's something that what Alan Wake wants to be is probably something that the people who decide what wins Best Narrative at the Game Awards would probably also like, or at least they would see this and maybe say, yes, we have to pick this. Said I don't know anything about the story, so I'm not, me being snarky about that is not me saying that I think this is going to be like good or bad or something. I just it's using my intuition. Stop bullying me. Next, previous Best Game Direction, which is mostly the Game of the Year. It's just actually just the Game of the Year stuff, right? I'm pretty sure these are the exact same games. Oh no, they removed. Okay, I guess the only reason Resident Evil 4 would be removed, or any of these games would be removed, is because that seems to be the only category where they put 6 games. The rest have been 5, right? So they had to make a decision on which of these to get rid of, which is interesting. It was Resident Evil 4 that they chose. I mean, I guess you had to choose one of them, and maybe the remake is the easiest one to nix, because you know that but it by some way the game was directed. It had a blueprint in some way, so interesting. Very interesting. Best Game Direction, I don't know, again, anything about these. I'd be hard-pressed to find a reason why it shouldn't be Zelda. Well, no, that's not true. It's a game direction choice to have the game take place in the exact same world as Breath of the Wild, right? And you could definitely count that against the game. I do, in a lot of ways, and I know a lot of people do. But what it was trying to do, I feel like, was accomplished a millionfold. So I don't know. This also seems like something that Alan Wake could potentially kind of be begging for. So, but also we got a Mario game here, which are literally just like airtight little pieces of gaming. And then you just got a nice big AAA Spider-Man game that is just open world, and you do all the open world things in it, and you get stuff like that. It's another reason why Zelda has a little advantage here. But yep, that and Baldur's Gate 3 looks, I'll say as far as direction goes, Baldur's Gate 3, the reason I want to play it is because it looks like a very committed RPG from what I can tell. So So immediately I was very confident with Zelda, but now I've talked myself out of being confident. I will say, for some reason, my brain is gravitating towards Zelda and Alan Wake. And I really don't know what the temperature on Tears of the Kingdom is. I really don't actually at all, but I'm going to lock in, because also you have to, I always consider this, Best Game Direction is also kind of like the, let's give a second place to Best Game, It's tough. It's really tough. And the more I think about it, maybe. If I were a Jeff, what would I do? This is harsh, brother. I'm going to lock in Baldur's Gate 3. Something about it. It's just giving me that eye. It's giving me that look. Baldur's Gate 3. I'm going to lock it in. Yep, locking it in. Game of the Year. This one, now, as far as Game of the Year goes, I'll be honest with you. When a Mario game is up here, it's kind of hard to imagine anything not Nintendo beating the Mario game, right? And as far as what the Game Awards likes, it seems like they would choose Zelda over Mario. And also, I think Zelda's great. I really do. I kind of feel like when my friend mentioned that the Game Awards were about to be announced, I just quickly responded with what I knew were going to be the nominations, because there's literally no other way. And I knew these 5. I literally said, I was like, it's got to be Zelda, it's got to be Mario, it's got to be Spider-Man, Resident Evil 4, and Baldur's Gate 3. There's no way it's anything else. And I either only guessed 5 and I added one more, but these were the 5 I absolutely knew would be up here. There's no question. So I feel like Alan Wake 2, as far as Game of the Year goes, is kind of the dark horse, which maybe is also the reason Alan Wake 2 might win Best Direction. But I'm going to say it's not Alan Wake 2 for that. I'm going to say it's not Resident Evil 4. 1, because they removed it from Best Direction. But 2, because I kind of just assumed that they wouldn't let a remake win. But it is Resident Evil 4. It's a pretty huge name to just drop like that. But I don't think that they would give it to a remake. Even though our game industry really loves their remakes. So I don't think that's going to count. I don't see Spider-Man beating a Nintendo game, as far as the Game Awards are concerned. And again, I haven't played it, and I didn't play the first one, so nothing to say about the quality of this game. Like, it could be better than both of these. I don't know, but I really don't see Spider-Man beating a Nintendo game. And that ultimately kind of falls back down to Baldur's Gate 3 again, even though it looks... I mean, they love their action RPGs. They really do. And this is totally an action RPG. It really is. And it seems like it's really cool. And it seems like people really love it. So it's up there. But if I have to lock something in, I'm going to lock in Zelda. It's a Zelda game, right? It's a Nintendo game. It's an action RPG. Lest they pick another game out of fear, would they be brave enough to have a Zelda game up here and not pick a Zelda game? Or I guess really it's more the Nintendo thing, but I really feel like if there's a Zelda game up here, are you brave enough to say that it's not the game of the year, even if it sucked? Even if this game was terrible, would they be brave enough to be like, no, it isn't Zelda? Would they be scared of gamers en masse sharpening their torches, lighting ablaze their pitchforks? Would Jeff run to the top of the tower, fleeing from the angry masses who weren't yet ready to hear that he wasn't a monster? He just didn't think Zelda was that good? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's actually exactly what would happen if Zelda didn't get picked. So for Jeff's safety, Zelda, I'm locking in as going to be game of the year. So yeah, that's oh wait, there was one more, right? What was I coming back to? What? Now I don't really feel like it. What was it? Best action adventure? Was this it? Oh yeah, Zelda probably. Yeah, maybe we give it to Resident Evil 4. Yeah, I lock in Resident Evil 4 probably for this, just so they can give it something, right? And it's good. So, but yeah, I mean, my heart wants to say Zelda again, because again, best action adventure looks strikingly similar to Game of the Year, which looks strikingly similar to best game direction. So, that's how it be. But yeah, I'll get for best action adventure. I guess I'll lock in Resident Evil 4. So it gets something, because I haven't given it something yet, and I feel like the Game Awards they will have to give it something, right? So maybe that, but my brain really does say it's one of these two. So if it's not one of these two, then I will eat the hat that I am wearing. But I'm gonna say it's Resident Evil 4. That's the lock. Now I gotta go back and tally all of it. Oh boy. Okay. That was that. That was fun. Are you asleep yet? Well, I procrastinated enough. I've been sitting here for like 2 hours. So, yeah, that's about it. If you're watching for whatever reason, or if you just did the smart thing and you just did the little timestamps to just get all the way to the end of this, like, however long video, then plans for the future. I mentioned it in the end of my last video, but you might not have watched it because you might not have needed a music system. But, I just put a music system video out for Game Maker, tutorial, whatever. Very good stuff, I think. Even if you don't think you need it, you might want to check it out, because I think it's pretty good. And it's something that I would have loved to have whenever I started working on games. But anyways, there's that. I'm working on a script right now for doing a video essay on quality of life features in games. And I'm going to be mostly talking about the Zelda games, actually. No spoilers or anything like that. But yeah, it was an interesting topic, and it got voted on the Patreon. But yeah, really excited about that. I'm just trying to get it well written so I can get my point across about something important. I think it's going to be really interesting. So yeah, just different kind of content, but definitely game development related. It'll kind of more be about the idea of that the limitations you should put on quality of life features, right? Like is some examples of games where maybe the quality of life feature tried to go too hard to increase the quality of your life too much. That might sound a little bit weird, but just wait for the video if it does. It's very worth considering when you're making your own game, where a quality of life feature will be like necessary, or will be a big improvement to your game, or when it could potentially detract from the core design of your game. It's very easy to want to make everything like, but shut up, Peyton. Just quit talking. All right, they get it. Okay. So anyways, there's that. And then I'm also working on a Mario style platformer clone series, which I'm super excited about. I went kind of crazy with the demo project that I made, but it's basically just going to be like a platformer series, but it's probably going to be a lot more detailed than a lot of the stuff you've seen on YouTube. So kind of like how my top-down shooter series was pretty detailed compared to a lot of stuff you see on YouTube. I don't know. It's not like I go out and look for tutorials now, so I could be wrong about that, but this one's going to be really comprehensive, and we are definitely using Mario as the basis idea. We're trying to see if we can make Mario more or less. And I think that's what's cool about it. And I think I've done a pretty good job. Hopefully. But anyways, those are the plans. I'm still working on Starcade. I had to take a break recently, only because one, my October was very, very busy with a lot of different stuff. But two, I just needed to take some time to focus on the channel because it's been months and months since I posted anything. Other than the video that I posted as of the recording this yesterday, the music video, I think it was like over 6 months since the last tutorial I posted was probably like 7 or 8 months or something like that. It was a long time. And so, yeah, I just needed to actually tend to the channel and be a good boy and do a good job for a little bit. So, and obviously I've got the other video coming up, and then I got the Mario series coming up. So, I've taken a little bit of time off recently, and we'll continue to take a little bit of time off this month to work on some of that stuff, but I'm not going to hold off too long. So I'll be back to Starcade work, which is getting closer and closer to the end all the time. So that will release when it releases. And then of course, after that, I will be, doing the turn-based RPG series, which you might be asking, why didn't you just do that instead of the Mario thing? Even though the Mario thing is very comprehensive and it's probably going to be a long series, let me tell you something about turn-based RPGs, pal. They are complicated. That, and the idea is to make like a full game with the turn-based RPG. So by design, I'm planning it to be a really long series, which probably means it's going to be astronomically long by the time it's actually done. And unless I figure out some much more clever way to do it than I have in my head right now. But yeah, so I'm going to do it. I promise you. I ain't going to lie to you. I'm going to do it. So yeah. But anyways, that's that. Thanks for hanging out. Might make this a yearly ritual, a little catch up on what games and media I've actually had time to consume for the year, and then a plea for you to tell me what cool things I should check out that I missed, especially when it comes to indie games. Like, please, if you managed to listen to this whole thing, first of all, you're very cool. We're basically best friends now. But also, yeah, give me some recommendations and tell me about indie games that I've missed, please. So yeah, see you in 1 year. Just kidding. I'll do other things in between that, obviously, but yeah, I think this would be fun. I think Game Awards predictions is fun. Just get in the heads of all those corporate suits. It's just a bunch of Jeffs all at one round table, and they're all just interrupting each other and making plans to go have lunch with Hideo Kojima. And Kojima has to fit into his busy schedule 5 different lunches with 5 different Jeffs every day. Because I don't know why I like Jeff Keighley. I don't know why I'm being this way.